Ever get so into a book that you almost wish you could just like jump right in? Well, the main man in this deep dive, he kind of took that a little too far.
Yeah.
We're diving into Don Quixote,
Yeah.
the first 26 chapters specifically,
Yeah.
where chivalry goes head to head with, well, reality.
It's really interesting to kind of think about when Cervantes was writing this, right? Like, imagine a time when stories about knights and big valiant deeds, like that was the thing. That was like the top, entertainment.
Yeah.
And that was 17th century Spain.
Wow.
But Cervantes, he wasn't just writing another one of those stories. He was kind of like holding up a mirror to how obsessed people were with those stories.
And right away, we meet this guy, Alonso Quijano, total bookworm. And I mean, obsessed with these knightly romances.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where he's like, you know what? I'm going to be the hero of my own story.
He's like, I'm in.
Yeah, he renames himself Don Quixote, gets some old rusty armor, and even like casts his trusty steed, Rocinante, right?
Yeah, and that's where this whole thing becomes more than just like a simple case of mistaken identity. It's like Don Quixote is not just playing dress up. He's like blurring the lines between what's real and what's, in those books.
Totally.
Makes you wonder, are we ever really free from, our own little delusions, our own, our own windmills, right?
Okay, so you can't talk about Don Quixote without talking about the windmill scene.
Right, it's like the one.
It's classic. The image of this wannabe knight charging at windmills, thinking they're giants. It's hilarious.
Oh, totally.
But it also makes you stop and think.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, for example, there's that hilarious part where Don Quixote, he comes across this barber, right? And the barber's got this shiny basin, on his head. And Don Quixote, he's convinced that it's the magical helmet of Mambrino. So, of course, he just charges right into like this huge battle with this barber.
Oh, man.
And Cervantes uses these totally absurd situations to show how easy it is for us to like get stuck in our own way of seeing things, even when, it's totally wrong.
It's like he's saying, hey, we all have those blind spots.
Yeah.
We all have those moments where we're kind of ridiculous.
Totally.
But we can't forget about the other half of this duo, Sancho Panza. Every night, Errant needs a sidekick. And Sancho, he's got both feet on the ground.
Oh, for sure.
He's the perfect opposite to Don Quixote's, crazy ideas.
He is. And Sancho, he's motivated by totally different stuff. He's like, governorship, I'm there. I'm all about that.
Right.
Not so much the glory and the heroism. He's like, no. But he's the voice of reason, always reminding everybody. And sometimes Don Quixote himself, how crazy their situation is. And this is the thing, even though he's like skeptical, he's loyal.
He sticks around.
He sticks with it.
It's like you couldn't ask for a more unlikely pair.
Right.
Right. This knight with his like head in the clouds and Sancho totally grounded. And that makes for some really interesting stuff in these early chapters, I think.
Oh, for sure. And it's not all, windmills and helmets and whatever.
Right.
Cervantes, he brings in these like really deep themes sometimes.
Yeah.
Like with that whole story of Grisostomo and Marcella.
Yeah. You wouldn't think you'd get a love story like right in the middle of all this knight errantry stuff.
Yeah.
But it kind of works,
Yeah, it does.
What's like the rundown for, if someone's listening who hasn't gotten to that part yet?
Okay, so picture this. You've got Grisostomo, and he's head over heels for Marcella, this like beautiful shepherdess.
Okay.
But here's the thing, Marcella, she's all about her freedom. Like that's her main thing. So she's like, nope, sorry, Grisostomo.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of a power move for like a woman in a book written in the 1600s, right?
Totally. And that's what makes it so interesting. I think it's like all those expectations back then. She's like, nope, not doing it. And it made me think about how we were talking about how Don Quixote, he's always trying to make the world fit his like idea of how it should be. Right. Yeah. Fighting wrongs, but like the wrongs he sees. And Marcella, she's like the opposite of that. She's like, I get to choose. I get to decide how I live my life. Like forget what everybody else thinks.
It makes you think like, where's the line between like standing up for what you believe in and just, I don't know, letting other people make their own choices?
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, that's something we're still dealing with now.
Totally.
And it's kind of amazing how Cervantes can take these simple little stories, like about a barber or some shepherds, and make you think about like bigger stuff about, I don't know, society. Like he's asking us to look at our own biases.
Yeah, like how we think things should be.
Exactly. And he does it with so much humor, too. It's
right.
Like you're laughing so you don't feel like you're being lectured to or something.
Yeah, it's like that laughter lets you face those big questions, but in a way that doesn't feel, I don't know, so heavy.
Right. Like it disarms you, you know.
Totally.
You see yourself, maybe even the dumb stuff you do, and it's like, okay to laugh about it.
So you're laughing along with Don Quixote, even when you're like, dude, what are you doing?
Exactly.
But then Cervantes, he'll hit you with this, like, genuine emotion. You see these little glimpses of, like, real human stuff,
Yeah.
and it makes you think.
And that's what gets me every time. Like, it's not just these characters way over there.
Right.
Cervantes, he pulls you right into their world. You feel what they feel. And you understand your own self better in a weird way.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's like he sets you up with the jokes and then, boom, hits you with these really deep ideas.
Yeah, he does. And the thing is, it all works together. The funny stuff, the social commentary, even like the philosophy. It's all one story. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
So, okay, we're wrapping up our deep dive on these first 26 chapters. What are some things Cervantes wants us to walk away with? What are, like, the big takeaways?
Well, you know, our source material lists a few actual lessons from these chapters. Like one that really stuck with me was fighting for what you believe in, which Don Quixote definitely takes that one to the max, obviously. But it made me think, like, at what point are you just kidding yourself?
Right.
How do you balance your ideals with, you know, the real world, which is messy,
Yeah.
right?
Like, choose your battles.
Right. Or I guess for Don Quixote, maybe choose fewer windmills to fight. And that goes back to that other big idea. The source material talks about humility and like knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And Don Quixote, he's got zero self-awareness. It's funny, but it's also kind of sad because he misses what's going on around him. He's so stuck in his night fantasies.
And that brings us back to, like, maybe we all have a little Don Quixote in us.
Oh, totally.
Because we all have those moments where we're just sure we're right, even when maybe we're not.
100%. And that's what I love about Cervantes. He lets you laugh at Don Quixote, but you also, like, you see yourself in him. And we're all kind of a mess sometimes.
So, last question. If you had to pick one, like, nugget of wisdom, you know, something you got from these chapters of Don Quixote, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to, like, question what you think you know. Because life, it's not black and white. Kind of like how Don Quixote's adventures are full of surprises, you know? The best journeys in books and in life, they take you to unexpected places.
And that is a wrap on our deep dive into the world of Don Quixote, at least for these chapters. Thanks for listening, and until next time, happy reading.